Happy Monday, NFL fans. It is another edition of the Between the Tackles podcast. It was a action-packed NFL Sunday. We had a couple excellent games, couple prize fights, as you would call them. We got a full boat tonight. Bergen Manish alongside. What's going on, boys?
What's happening? I'm glad to be in my house tonight. It is freezing cold outside, and I'm glad to be in a nice warm house. Makes me rethink why I live in the Northeast all the time.
Yeah, it's really cold in the Northeast, but I really want to ask each of you guys if you need some Kleenex, maybe a shoulder to cry on after what transpired on Sunday in Foxborough.
No, I need a hook to stab in me and get me out of the middle of traffic, dude. Drag me out from the middle of traffic.
Yeah, it was a tough Sunday for us as Patriots fans. I mean, I'll just get right into it. You know, we do our winners and losers on here. My loser of the week is the Patriots, and I'm going to say the team as a whole because that's what we do here. But we're going to talk about this. It's specifically the Patriots defense, and again, specifically the second half of that game. The Patriots got out to a huge start in this one. I think they were up 24-7 at the half, which everybody was feeling good going into halftime, especially the way the Patriots were able to answer the Bills touchdown late in the second quarter with at least putting points on the board to keep it a 3-score game going into halftime. And then seemingly the wheels just absolutely fell off the bus. And I would say arguably the bus caught fire, just the way that second half went. The Patriots really just didn't have it. I mean, offensively early, the third quarter of that game was absolutely putrid for the Patriots, both offensively and specifically defensively. I mean, this team couldn't stop a nosebleed. James Cook got going, rushed for 2 touchdowns in this one. And, the Patriots just had no answer. And for me as a Patriots fan, as much as I hate the Bills winning this game, part of me is like, okay, this is the moment this team finally gets to face some adversity this season. They're coming off their big long win streak. They got punched in the mouth at home with an opportunity to clinch the division. I still fully expect this team to win the division, secure a home playoff game down the road. The 1 seed is off the table now. I would argue. I don't think that there's going to be any chance for the Patriots to secure the 1 seed at this point. Manish will get into that in a little bit when he starts talking about his teams. The Patriots desperately miss Milton Williams on that defensive front. They need to get him back, which he will be back at the end of the season, but their run defense since he has been out has taken a real turn for the worse. And you could say what you want in this game about the officiating, the calls in this game, specifically the overturned interception by Marcus Jones and a couple of missed calls late in this game. Doesn't matter. That's not the reason the Patriots lost this game. The Patriots lost this game because they could not get off the field on defense for a single possession in the second half. And for me, that was the biggest sticking point. I mean, if you're going to take a positive away from this as a Patriots fan, it's the fact that the Patriots figured out how to run the ball in this one. Travion Henderson popped off 2 long runs. We're really starting to see that explosiveness from Travion Henderson over the last month or so. And that is very encouraging to see, especially after the start of the season where it seemed like he was looking like a bust, to start the season there. So ultimately, at the end of the day, the Patriots miss an opportunity to clinch the division. I still fully expect them to, given the tiebreakers that they have in the remaining schedule that they have to play in this 2025 regular season. I like the team facing adversity now. I'd rather them get this kind of loss out of the way now versus down the road. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't want to bog us down with Pat's talk here, but I don't think, dude, if you take out the 2 home runs that Henderson hit, dude, like they're averaging under 2 yards a carry for their running backs. Like, dude, like it's not good enough. Like in the second half, if they didn't have that long run by Henderson, like there's absolutely abysmal running the ball. Like I would argue that their lack of being able to run the ball consistently in the second half, like there was one of the third downs that they didn't convert in the second half was a 3rd and 1 that they were in the shotgun. Like if you trust your team to run the ball and you're a good running team on 3rd and 1 up points in the second half, you're running the ball there 10 times out of 10. So I think there's a lot of concerning things that come out of this game. I think that it shows that you can't get pressure without blitzing unless you have Milton Williams. It shows a lot of flaws in your passing defense after you get after Christian Gonzalez. It really falls off a cliff when Marcus Jones isn't 100%. And then when you go over to the offensive side of the ball, I'm not 100% sure Drake May can play in the elements. I'm not 100%. Dude, there was a couple throws that he usually makes that he didn't make today. Maybe it's a combination of things, being the elements in his first like real element game, maybe heightened stakes as well. But like, dude, there's a lot of stuff that still has to shake out for this Pats team. I don't think the sky's falling. I think they're still playing with house money. They're still second in the conference. They're still first in the division. Like you said, I totally expect them to win the division this year. But I just think that I hope that this team is able to look inwards and like really fix some things and really like be honest with themselves, because like over the last like 3 games of the season, you need to like prove, like you need to figure out a way to run the ball. Point. You're up 24-7. The fact that you lose in the second half is you can't get off the field and you can't run the ball to stay on the field. It's a fact. So, like, I think the trenches on both sides of the ball are a big, big issue going forward here.
And real quick, Manish, before you go here, the big thing for me, too, is this is also, I think, the second or third game out of the last 4, you can exclude the Monday night game against the Giants, that this team has looked really, really poor coming out of halftime. They've looked really poor, and that's quite the opposite that we saw early on in the season, where the team was starting slow, and then in the second half, all of a sudden they turned it on. It seems like that is completely flipped, and there's got to be some balance when they work that out coming down the stretch here.
Look, you guys made a lot of great points. It's funny, all the points that you made breaking down this game, you didn't mention the most important reason why the Bills came back from a 21-point deficit, and that's Josh Allen.
James Cook.
Okay. So Josh Allen, 3 touchdown passes, really unstoppable in the second half. The third and goal touchdown early in the fourth quarter after the Bills were pushed back via penalty after I believe Allen ran it in, but that was nullified because of a penalty. The 3rd and 14, 3rd and 14, I believe, was the 3rd and goal situation. For them to take the lead it was vintage Josh Allen. The guy's unbelievable. He's obviously not the only reason that they won. You guys outlined some of the breakdowns that the Patriots had. The 21-point comeback, by the way, is the largest comeback victory for a visiting team in the history of Gillette Stadium. The Patriots had also won 120 consecutive games when leading by 17 or more points at Gillette. That streak is now over, largely because of a player who wears number 17, Josh Allen. And I just think that for all the great things that Drake May has done, you cannot take any of that away from them. You cannot deny the fact that his future is so bright. The reality is that he played his worst game in the biggest game to date of this season. We'll see what happens in the playoffs, of course, because they will make the playoffs. Season low, 62.8 completion percentage. Second half, only 5 completions for 47 yards and an interception. He had moments in the waning minutes of that game where he could have made a play. He didn't make a play. You don't want to, rake him over the coals over that. But I think you saw a stark contrast at the quarterback position in this game. Early in the game, May used his legs, much like you see Josh Allen use his legs. But when it mattered most in the second half and in crunch time, Josh Allen delivered. You would expect the guy with his pedigree, his resume, to do so. I just thought, you saw a rising young quarterback and a quarterback who, for my money, is the best player in football right now. And that was the difference. Not the only reason. I do think the defense should be ashamed of themselves. 6 of the team's 7 penalties came in the second half. The 2 DPIs, you can talk about whether they were good calls, bad calls. The bottom line, they were DPIs at critical moments. I know Mike Vrabel said after the game that the same official called both DPIs. Clearly, he was not happy with those calls. But, look, I just thought it was a great game. And maybe it's my East Coast bias. I thought it was the game of the year to this point. I don't know if we're going to see a better game over the last 3 weeks of the regular season. Just a fun, exciting game. Completely flipped from the first half to the second half. I will be very interested to see how the AFC East plays out. You guys are very confident that the Patriots will still win this division. They've got the Ravens then a layup against the Jets, and then who knows if the Dolphins are going to be playing for that seventh and final playoff spot in the final week of the season. That could also be a layup. You never know. The Bills have 2 layups, and they have their hardest game against the Philadelphia Eagles in Buffalo. So I'm not giving the AFC East to the Patriots just yet. I think they're in a better position than Buffalo, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, well, if Buffalo doesn't win it this year, it would be an unbelievable bag fumble because it is absolutely opening wide up for them. Manish, you want to talk about your winner and another player in the top of the AFC playoff picture?
Yeah, well, my winner is actually creeping up the NFC playoff picture, and that's I'm sorry. No, you know what? You're taking the Bears.
Yes.
Pre-game production meeting that I completely flubbed right there. So I am not going to step on your toes. I'm going to stay in the AFC, and a team that we've talked a lot about in conjunction with the Patriots over the last month or so, and that's the Denver Broncos, outlasting the Packers at Mile High. Their defense showed a little bit of cracks in the armor, but they made plays when they needed to. Bo Nix, a really uneven season. I'm not particularly impressed with Bo Nix, but I think you'd be disingenuous if you weren't really impressed by the way he played against the Packers on Sunday. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. The driving force in them generating as many points as they did. They are in pole position to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. All that being said, I think they're an extremely beatable team. The great advantage that they have, of course, if they get that 1 seed, is that they'll have to win 1 less game to get to the Super Bowl. But I think they can be beaten just like virtually every other team in the AFC. But you got to give them credit. They still have not lost since September. They do have the NFL's longest winning streak right now, and they sit atop the AFC all alone with the best record in the conference.
Yeah, I think you can draw a lot of parallels to the Patriots on the offense, at least for the Broncos. It's kind of all on the quarterback right now, and if the quarterback isn't making plays, the team isn't really. I mean, you see, dude, Bo Nix, like the Packers kind of controlled the early part of this game. Bo Nix wasn't really playing well, and then for the final 3 quarters, his hair caught fire, and they ended up scoring. What did they end up scoring?
20 points in the second half.
Yeah, 20 points in the second half. Ended up with 34 points. So I don't know. You could say a lot of the good things about Bo Nix, but I won't, because I think that as soon as you play a good team in the playoffs, like a really good team with a good quarterback on the other side who can really put some points on the board, I just really think if you really put everything on Bo Nix, I think he's going to crack eventually, and I think that's probably what you're alluding to as well, Manish.
I think you raise a great point, but they just played a really good team with a decent quarterback, not a superstar quarterback, but with a really good defense as well. And when you look at the AFC, I'm not sure there's a team, Joe, that fits those parameters. A great team with a great quarterback. I don't really see a team in the conference that fits that mold. So look, I'm not a big believer in the Broncos, but I'm very impressed by what they've done, if that makes sense.
I would agree. I mean, we've talked a lot, like Manish hit on it too, is the 1 seed in the home field advantage, playing 1 less game to go to the Super Bowl. And on top of that, playing at elevation in Mile High, which is a very difficult place to go in and play, especially in the playoffs. Denver also has the same problems the Patriots have with running the ball. They didn't run the ball great in this game. And, speaking on the Packers side, Michael Parsons probably tore his ACL in this game too, so that's a huge loss for the Packers.
Yeah, I think it confirmed he tore his ACL.
Yeah, so on that side of the ball, that's a huge loss for the Green Bay Packers, and I think we can all agree that Jordan Love has been very inconsistent this year in terms he hasn't really put it all together to kind of take that next step and be that elite quarterback. I picked the Packers in this game. I'm very upset that they weren't able to pull this one out. But yeah, the Denver Broncos defense, I mean, even though they gave up 26 points in this game, they pick off Jordan Love twice. I mean, that defense is, if not the best unit in the AFC this year. I mean, my money would be on the Houston Texans at this point, but that's a discussion for another day. At the end of the day, the Broncos did what they needed to do. They beat a tough opponent, one of the toughest opponents they've played to date. They kept their win streak going, and now they have the inside track on the 1 seed. And for the Patriots to actually supplant them by winning out, it's going to be very difficult. I mean, the Broncos would have to lose, I think, 2 or 3 of their remaining games for another team to claim that that top seed. And I think that's going to be a very difficult thing to see happen, especially given the schedule there.
Well, so we're going to go from the top of the AFC to the top or the second spot in the NFC to my winner this Sunday evening, Monday morning is going to be the Bears. The Bears beat the Browns soundly. Caleb Williams looks good again. The whole team looks good again. They did get some luck with other games. The Lions and the Packers end up losing, so they now have a chokehold over the NFC North. They have a chokehold over this 2 seed in the NFC. I don't know. I think this is just a well-rounded team. I think that Ben Johnson just has a lot of young players pulling in the right direction. They lost a key piece of their offense, Romaduze, right before kickoff, and they were still able to go out there and have an explosive offensive day. So I don't know. I've been on the Bears for a little bit. I was concerned about Ben Johnson having the personality to be a head coach and the intangibles to be a head coach. We all knew he could do it with his play calling and with his offensive creativity. But I think the intangible and the emotional stuff was what we were waiting to see. And I think he's knocked that out of the park through the first majority of the season here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say, I mean, this was a very balanced attack offensively for the Chicago Bears. I mean, granted, they played the Cleveland Browns, who have at points this season had a pretty effective defense, and they were able to just absolutely dominate this. Obviously, Shedeur Sanders turning the ball over 3 times for the Browns. I mean, we know what the Browns are. At the same time, it was a game that Chicago really needed to win, and I think it's just like you said, Joe. It's a statement. I mean, they got a big matchup next week against the Packers again. I mean, it's going to be fascinating to watch, down the stretch to see where that division goes.
Yeah, and it's funny, this division reminds me of the division last year, the same division, but different teams with the Vikings and the Lions down the stretch those last few weeks. The Vikings and Lions were kind of ping-ponging between having the bye or being like the 6th seed in the conference. And for the Bears and the Packers, the last few weeks, I think 2 weeks ago, the Bears were the number 2 seed. Last week, they were the number 7 seed if the season ended that day. And now they're back up to the number 2 seed. So it'll be interesting to see how things shake out over the next few weeks. It's fun to talk about, being that Chicago is the number 2 seed, but they could very easily be the last team in.
Dude, there very well could be 2 teams that have winning records in the NFC that don't make the playoffs. Like that's a pretty strong field. Like the Packers are have the last playoff spot right now, and they're 9-4-1. The Lions and Panthers and Cowboys are on the outside looking in. I if you put a gun to my head, I said there's a pretty. I don't know why I'm saying. Don't put it. Nobody go ahead and put a gun to my head. All right. But if I had to choose, I would say it's pretty likely that 2 of the 3 of those teams at least have a winning record at the end of the season. I'm just going to roll right into my loser here. I think the Colts are a big loser today. They sign a quarterback off the couch. He comes in. He looks underwhelming. The team itself looks underwhelming. They lose to another good opponent. But on top of that, they only have a 17% chance to make the playoffs after the loss. And then the Jags, Texans, and Bills all win on top of that, who are they're fighting for the playoff spots with. So not necessarily a bad loss for the Colts considering the spot. They have like 9 quarterbacks on IR. They're signing guys off the couch who I guess, dude, there's something to do with the insurance, which is crazy that these guys don't have insurance for the rest of their lives after basically sticking their head in front of a Mack truck every Sunday. But anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. I think the Colts now on the outside looking in the AFC playoff picture are my loser this week.
Yeah, look, that's a shame. I'm sorry, Birch. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You first.
Yeah, that's a shame because for a guy who's 44 years old, hadn't played in nearly 5 years, I thought that Rivers acquitted himself fairly well. And they're playing in one of the most hostile environments in the NFL, if not the most hostile environment in the NFL in Seattle. And for them to take the lead late in that game and for their defense to not give up a touchdown but still lose is a tough break for them. And look, they're probably not going to make the playoffs now. The happiest people in the NFL about that reality is probably the New York Jets, because you remember the Colts gave up 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, including the 2026 first-round pick. So every Colt loss is a win for the Jets. And just an unfortunate season for them, coming out of nowhere virtually with Daniel Jones and then having him getting injured. But I know what you're saying, Joe. I agree that because of their playoff, possibility shrinking. They're a loser today or Sunday, I should say. But Phillip Rivers, I thought, played much, much better than I even anticipated, given the circumstances.
I'm sorry, I'm doing a little watching Sunday Night Football, dude. Did you guys just see that trick play? They did the throw it behind the holder's back to Brandon Aubrey, who ran around the end for the first down. Anyway, but no, I totally agree with you, Manish. I don't think this is like a bad loss per se. You know what I mean? I think even if you're fully healthy, you could go up to Seattle and lose a battle, dude. Seattle's a well-rounded team, and like you said, arguably, I wouldn't even really argue with you, the toughest place to play in the NFL. But I just think due to everything that's happened, how much the injuries are starting to stack up, the fact they don't have their next 2 first-round picks, and the fact that the Jaguars, Texans, and Bills won, I just think it's a bad week for Colts fans.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. And, they played that game close, which was something I didn't expect. So, hats off for them to keep it close, especially with Phillip Rivers coming in and playing his first game in 5 years.
Eric, give me your winner.
My winner, the Los Angeles Chargers. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and given the way the rest of the league played out today, eliminated the Kansas City Chiefs from playoff contention this year. They got to keep pace. They got to keep pace with the rest of the teams that are, they're fighting for the wild card spot. I believe they sit in the 5th spot right now with tiebreakers over the Buffalo Bills. And, I give them a lot of credit. They're playing in a very tough division this year. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs are not what they were, but they're playing with right now the number 1 team in the AFC, and they're playing with a team that's my team, a dark horse that's going to make some noise in the playoffs, and that's the Houston Texans. The way their defense is playing, they've turned it on really late, in the last month and a half or so, we'll say, really have turned it on to make a push after starting off slow. And they got to stick ahead. They got to keep ahead. They got a game advantage on the Houston Texans. And, it's a big win going into Arrowhead and beating the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I thought we were on the Chargers so hard at the beginning of this pause, but we were on the Chargers. As a podcast, we were on the Chargers at the beginning of the season, and we kind of all fell off the bandwagon a little bit. I don't know, man. They're starting to get healthy. Justin Herbert is playing with like a bionic arm and like a Michael Jackson glove on his left hand, and like figuring out how to use his legs to kind of like make him like more of a dual threat quarterback, because I don't know, he is an excellent passer of the ball, but I think when you add the dual threat and you add all the threat that they have on the ground, I think it makes their offense multiple. They can win in a couple different ways. And I don't know, they grinded this one out versus the Chiefs today, which is kind of differently than they've been winning. They won their last couple games.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in Justin Herbert, as everybody on earth who knows me is aware. I'm just not sure how far they can go, missing their 2 tackles. Justin Herbert, to me, unfairly gets criticized for a number of different reasons, but you can't take away the fact that they've got 10 wins, and Jim Harbaugh's an awesome coach. Marion Hampton's back. They're kind of getting him back into the mix. Maybe they can win a game. Who knows? Maybe they get to the conference championship game. I just don't think I don't see them winning 3 games to get to a Super Bowl with that offensive line. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, and maybe Justin Herbert will lift everyone up. But I think they're a really good story, but they are limited, even given the fact, as I said earlier, there isn't a dominant team in the conference.
Do you want to switch sides of this contest there, Manish?
Yeah, my biggest loser of the week, it's the Kansas City Chiefs organization. The dynasty is over. The Chiefs were officially eliminated from the playoffs for the first time since 2014 after losing to LA and having a few other teams win. And to add insult to injury, Patrick Mahomes suffered a season-ending ACL injury. That really calls into question what this Chiefs team is going to look like in 2026, because if you look at the calendar, we're in mid-December. It's typically a 9 to 12 month rehab for an ACL injury. Even if you're really aggressive and ambitious, it's at least 9 months or so, and that would put the Chiefs at about late September, early October. And again, you don't want to rush it. You don't know if there's any meniscus damage. They won't know that until they go into for surgery. If it's a clean ACL, perhaps a little bit quicker rehab, but still, this is going to impact the Chiefs in 2026. And even if Mahomes, frankly, did not get hurt, there were real question marks about what Kansas City was going to look like entering next season. We'll see what the draft brings. We'll see what free agency brings. but this is a team at 6-8. They potentially could have their first losing season since 2012. Believe it or not, when Romeo Cornell was the head coach. They've won the AFC West every year that Patrick Mahomes has been the starter, which is remarkable. And they've only missed the playoffs, well, now 2 times in Andy Reid's tenure there. So an end of an era, a great run. Every great run comes to an end. As Patriots fans, you guys are fully aware of that. But I thought about a month ago that maybe there was a little bit of life still left in this team, a little bit more juice left. But clearly I was wrong. And now with Mahomes out and them losing today, most importantly, they're going to be on the outside looking in. That's so weird to say, because it's commonplace to think that not only are the Patriots going to, the Chiefs going to make the playoffs, but they're going to get the first round bye. And that opens the door for new teams, whether that's Denver, whether that's the Patriots or the Chargers, Jaguars, who knows? It'll make for a fun and exciting AFC playoff, but just a little odd. And, if you're a football fan, a little sad that the dynasty is over.
Yeah, and even as a Pats fan, I'm sad it's over because I think Mahomes is fun to watch in the clutch. It's like I think watching a guy at that level operate in the clutch, I think you're not a football fan if you don't appreciate that at least a little bit. But real quick on the Chiefs going forward, dude. If Minnesota pulls this game out versus Dallas in Dallas tonight, the Kansas City Chiefs will be sitting with the 11th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. So I don't know. And you want to hear something even scarier, dude? You want to hear something scarier? As it sits right now at the recording of this podcast, the Los Angeles Rams have a top 10 pick.
That's a good trade with the Atlanta Falcons from last year. That's why.
Insane, dude. Insane. Birds, I know you wanted to hit on one more team before we got out of here.
Yeah, the one team I want to hit on real quick. It was a team that was my lock of the week this week, and it's the Carolina Panthers. They're kind of my honorable mention loser today after, especially what happened on Thursday night with the Buccaneers losing. The Panthers had a real chance to take a leg up in that division against, the Saints, kind of a lowly opponent in that division. The Saints played spoiler today, and they end up beating the Panthers at home. And for me, it's a kind of a lost opportunity for the Panthers to really kind of take a step forward, and kind of opens the doors for the Bucs, which was a team we were all pretty high on early on in the season. If they're able to right the ship in any way down the stretch here, it could really impact the Panthers actually getting into the playoffs.
Yeah, look, that was a horrible loss. I don't know if you guys caught the end of it. They blew a 10-point second half lead to a 3-win team. But not only that, this game was destined to go into overtime before the Panthers were called for a personal foul penalty with the Saints quarterback sliding, and then that put them into field goal range, and that was it. But just a horrible way to lose a game to an incredibly bad team. And even though they can right the ship with the first place on the line next week, I believe, against the Bucs, they really blew a golden opportunity to ramp up their chances of making their first postseason in a long time.
The Panthers, dude. Just our little team that might not be able to, which kind of stinks. But you guys got anything else you want to get to before we call this one? Before we, as Burge, you know what I'm going to say that you used to say all the time? Does anybody have anything they want to touch on before we plug this?
Plug it up.
Before we plug this thing up.
A couple quick things. One, the Giants really did well by holding on and still losing to the Commanders. They still have the number 1 overall pick. They're going to turn that into a gold mine with a team that needs a quarterback, and it's probably going to give them multiple first-round picks. If they lost to the Commanders today, things would have changed, but thankfully for their fan base, they lost. And the other thing that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention is that the Eagles did shut out the Raiders. Raiders really a poor team, but a lot of conversation in Philadelphia about whether they could right the ship after their 3-game losing streak. I'm not sure what it says about the Eagles and their quarterback and their whole offense in general, but it would have been a complete disaster if they somehow blew this game at home to a very, very bad team.
The Eagles still going to host a playoff game. Everybody chill out, all right?
3 touchdowns from Jalen Hurts. Woo! Good day for him. Good day for him.
That's a QB right there, dude.
That is a QB.
Yeah, that's it. That is quite factually a quarterback. Correct. All right, guys. Well, that was another edition of the Between the Tackles podcast. Joe, Manish, Burge, we'll catch you on Thursday. Goodbye.